Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sligo Show. We're back here again in Lily's, upstairs in their lovely space. And I'm now joined by local photography, festival producer, musician, the one and only Eddie Lee. Eddie, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Brandon,
You're very welcome.
To be here.
You're looking very comfy there in our lovely new cosy chairs. Huh? I really enjoyed this
set.
set.
It's like a pop art Irish living room.
Yes, it's where two things meet together, but it's lovely. It's a really lovely room altogether.
Great.
So I suppose for anyone that maybe doesn't know you, who's tuning in, can you tell us, briefly a little bit about yourself, background, growing up, etc.?
Well, I went to college in Dublin and kind of fell into the music when I was in Dublin. I born and bred in Sligo. Came back to Sligo and joined a band, or formed a band, I should say, called that eventually became Those Nervous Animals.
Okay.
And we spent a lot of the 1980s trying to become pop stars.
Okay.
Didn't quite happen. Well, we kind of had a limited amount of success here.
Yeah.
And we got to work with some amazing people, and we opened for Christaberg.
Okay. Well, that's a.
And we played Self-Aid in
Okay,
front of whatever it was, 40,000 people or something.
Yeah.
That was like the big Irish
The
business version of Live Aid.
Okay.
So it was basically to try and help Irish businesses through the recession.
Oh, I didn't know that actually. I didn't know that's what it was.
That's what Self-Aid was about. Yeah.
Okay. And from a young age,
they gave grants to business out of the money they raised from it.
to help local businesses all over the place.
Yeah, everywhere, all over the country.
There you go. We've all learned something today.
Yeah.
And was it from a young age? Music? Was it in your house, family, or?
It was no. Well, my mother played a bit of piano, but
Yeah.
I was just a fanatic.
At what
For
age?
as long
Like,
as
were
I
you
can remember.
listening to jazz as a kid, or?
Look, I remember hearing Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles, and on one of those little grey boxes. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
My sisters had it was the B-side of another Beatles record, which I can't even remember what it was, Love Me Do or something. But it was Eleanor Rigby was the one for me. I'd never heard anything like it before. It was the weirdest and most beautiful thing I'd ever set my ears on. So that's what started me off on music, really. From there on, then I listened to everything I could listen to, and then I kind of got into. A friend of mine was into jazz when we were in school, let's say about 14, 15.
So
I started
that was kind
listening
of the first
to jazz.
time. Was that the first time you started playing, or had you been playing before this?
No, I was trying to play the flute back then.
Okay.
And I remember sitting in a tent in Ballysadare with Jerry Grennan, blinding everybody with his amazing guitar skills, and me trying to play the flute. And I think convinced me that
maybe there's another instrument for
me. This instrument isn't really for me. And so it was definitely not going to be pulling any girls that way anyway.
Yes, yeah, it's maybe not the most sexy instrument out there, right? Jerry was getting them all with the guitar solos.
That's it.
And so then you moved on. Then, as you said, Those Nervous Animals. You said you're probably on the brink of big time. Like, I've read some interviews before about this, and to anyone that maybe isn't aware, like, where was that moment you're like, whoa, if this comes through, we could go really big?
Well, we were flown to London to CBS, and we were given a tour of the building and asked what label we wanted to be on. And like at the time, CBS had 3 different labels.
Okay.
And the guy who wanted to sign us, who was the A&R man, was Gordon Charlton. I actually remember his name and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He had actually signed Prefab Sprout, and I thought this was the best thing ever because Prefab Sprout were my favourite band.
Okay.
And
so you might meet them down the road in the office.
Yeah. And because he loved us and loved Prefab Sprout, I thought that said a lot about us. About Those Nervous Animals. And there was lots of lawyers' advice, and in fact, Bill Whelan, who was our manager at the time.
This is of Mr. Riverdance.
Mr. Riverdance,
okay.
Yeah. He was our manager and producer at the time. And of course he was great friends with Paul McGuinness and the U2 guys, and they had a whole mechanism in place of lawyers and accountants and everything and advisors, and one of those was advising us and basically gave us a bum steer, and we didn't sign. We were offered a quite a big contract. We didn't sign it. He said hold out for a few weeks because Virgin are a better company, and they're bound to bite, and they didn't bite. And then CBS told us to
hit the road,
Jack.
Wow.
So that was that.
And how did Bill Whelan get involved?
You
were a Sligo band, like?
We approached him. Yeah.
Okay.
He had produced a record that we thought we were very impressed with. It sounded like it did. At the time, back in those days, you went into a studio and you had to spend a lot of money doing any recordings.
Yeah.
So we got, we we got a loan basically of the Ulster Bank, and we went to Bill Whelan and we said, we have raised the money to do a recording, would you be interested? And we sent them our demos, which were done down here in Brian Tahaney's, I think.
Okay.
Some of them were done in Brian Tierney, some of them were done in Slane, in this studio in Slane. But at the time, it was so expensive. Like nowadays, people are recording stuff in their living rooms. You couldn't do that back then.
Yeah.
And it was so expensive. We got a few things done anyway, and we sent him Bill, and he thought they were amazing. He thought we were the best thing he'd heard in a long time. So he took us on under his wing, and we spent about 3 or 4 years with Bill trying to.
And you were gigging all over Ireland, UK. How far?
We had a residency in the Baggot Inn in Dublin, or the Maggot Bin as we affectionately call it. And we had an amazing time there. We sold it out every night for 6 months, every Friday night for 6 months.
Wow.
And then we stopped doing it, like a bunch of idiots that we were. We gave it a miss when it was at its highest, really.
Okay.
I remember the last day we played there was queues about 150 yards down Baggot Street.
Wow.
So
still great memories, no doubt.
We had great memories, and we had loads of amazing people come to see us. Some of the members of Wham at the time came to see us. Dion Estes was at one of our gigs, and we had lots of fun. And lots of nightclubbing.
Great memory. Well, I mean,
Pink Elephant was hit a lot. Pink Elephant was the place to go at the time.
Okay, was that like the wild place to go at the end of the night?
That was the place for U2 and all the boys went.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of famous people, like over the years, I know you've played in a variety of different gigs and a variety of venues. Like, was there any special moments, or like someone really famous, or someone you were like really delighted to get to play with?
Well, Self-Aid was like everybody was at that. The Boomtown Rats and U2 and God, I can't remember half of them. It was a big
one to go in.
A big bill, yeah. And Pogues were at it. I remember Shane McGowan's laugh.
Same as today.
Yeah, an insane laugh.
A few more teeth maybe back then.
But yeah, probably. Well, not really.
That was true.
But that was probably the biggest gig we did. But in terms of the people that we bumped into along the way, there was tons. As I said, we opened for Christa Berg at one point. He was very nice, actually.
Yeah, it comes across that way.
He was a nice fella.
And did you record with Enya once?
I did myself.
Yeah.
In more recent years, like about 6 years ago.
Oh right, okay.
I played on Enya's last album.
And how did that happen?
How
did that meeting come about?
I can stand corrected on this, but I could be the only musician that's ever played on an Enya album apart from Enya. I think I might be.
Really?
Yeah.
And what did she ring you up someday, or
she does everything herself? Nicky Ryan is her producer and manager, and the kind of brains behind her whole operation. I mean, he was Clonard's manager way back when, and she's obviously the sister of one of the sisters of the Clonard family, the Brainons, and she actually left Clonard to pursue a solo career. Nicky went with her. He was the man responsible for Clonard's great sound at Ballastadair Festival. He did the sound for everybody at Ballastadair Festival back in the day. He was an absolute genius sound engineer. He was a massive Beatles fan as well. That was another thing we had in common.
Yeah.
And he had these techniques. When Bill Whelan felt that he had done all he could for us, we went to Nicky. He introduced us to Nicky, and we went to Nicky and did some recording. Unfortunately, pretty much none of it saw the light of day.
Okay.
But he did also get us in with Enya to do a little bit of work. She wasn't famous at the time. She was doing this TV series soundtrack, and we did a little bit of work with her for that. But then, about a year after that, she brought out Orinoco Flow, and the rest was history. Yeah. So, but we've kind of stayed in touch since myself. Well, Nicky anyway has stayed in touch, and so I had a lovely couple of days up in Dublin. We went up to record with him, and he asked me. He rang me out of the blue one day and said,
"You couldn't do it."
I was just on eddielee.ie. And I see that you're still playing, and you're even playing double bass now, because I wasn't playing double bass in those days.
Okay.
I took it up in my 30s.
And then brought you up to the studio and recorded it?
Brought it up to the studio and recorded me, yeah. And he seemed like totally ill-equipped to record anyone except Enya, because that's the way they work. You know,
okay, just what she does.
Such a closed shop, you know. Well. So it was a real thrill, yeah, it was a massive thrill.
Now, one of my favourite acts to see around Sligo, and I'm only here since, 1999, okay, but No Crows. To see ye playing a session in Hargadens and most of the band often, used to do a Wednesday in Shoots, and you could pop up anywhere, but like an absolute gem. I remember me and my dad went in to see you once, and we didn't talk the whole night because we were just blown away at the absolute genius musicianship in front of us. And where did that band come about, or how long are you together?
That actually started in Shoots, in a session.
Just a session?
Shoot the Crows, yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what happened.
Just one day decided, we'll do a gig somewhere?
Some of the guys were playing a session. The bass player got busy or something with something else. I think he was away. He went away. He was living somewhere else for a while. It was Jamie Carswell, actually. And I said I'd go in and join them for a bit. And it was just basically throwing tunes around that anybody could bring in a tune and say, try this. And usually the fiddle, or Steve on the fiddle, or Anna on the mando would start it. Anna Houston would start a tune, and we'd all join in and we try and make
it's not too much trad like, you know what I mean? There's a really,
I know,
kind of, is it gypsy vibe?
But then we started to write our own stuff as well. Right, know. So first of all, we were just trying to play tunes from anywhere. Like Steve would come up with tunes from Sweden and Denmark and Scandinavia or Eastern Europe or France or whatever, and he'd have a lot of his own tunes as well, of course, from his Waterboys days and everything. So he's a creative soul, Steve. He's writing music all the time. Great people to be involved in. It just evolved very organically out of Shoot the Crows. About a year later, we said maybe we should give this thing a name and play in some other places too. So that's what happened. We started.
So the name, obviously. Okay, so that's
about
from the bar.
That was 2005. We started this shoot session, and then we played Glastonbury in 2009.
Oh right, okay.
So and
amazing experience.
Yeah, and we did a lot of touring around.
You've
Belgium,
Europe
Switzerland.
Regular,
we do Switzerland a lot because Anna's from Switzerland, and she has sort of a network over there that she's.
I'm always jealous watching your Instagram when you're over there. It looks beautiful part of the world.
The last trip was super intense because we had been locked up for 2 years. So this was our first time out of the country in 2 years, and it was just so intense. We had 3 days off in the middle, 3 nights off in the middle, and I just went on. I got one of those rail passes that you can go anywhere in Switzerland. It's amazing the amount of places you can get to in Switzerland in 3 days.
In a short time,
incredible. So I went with my camera and snapped my way around Switzerland.
I can imagine a very photogenic place, and we'll chat about that in a moment as well. So, we'll get into it now. I suppose you recently have delved into the world of photography. Have you always been into that, or that was more of a lockdown thing, or where did it kind of?
I've always been into taking photos, but I never really gave it much time. I never had much time for it. So, when the lockdown happened, I just dove straight into it. And I mean, the year before that, I had started to get into astrophotography and taking some night sky shots. After I got a sort of a half decent camera. I think it was 2018. I got a decent camera, a mirrorless camera. Yeah. And that sort of set me on a new level, really, in terms of taking photos. And I went to the University of YouTube.
A great university if you want to just get self-taught on things and then go from there. But then you have to have an eye as well. So you've obviously, you've now. I think people have to have a natural creative eye for a good shot.
Well, people have told me I have an eye anyway. Yeah. So, but I'm not sure whether that's always a good thing.
Well, and what's your kind of favorite? Is it kind of the landscape ones, or is it people or?
I still haven't figured out what my favorite. Okay. That's how new it is to me. I love taking night sky shots. I went on a photo workshop there recently in La Palma, which is one of the best places in the world for a night sky, and it was just a magical experience. So, and I learned a huge amount from 2 Spanish guys who were running this course. They were just superb photographers, and had a great time with them. So that's opened up a whole new world for me now. That I actually have a bit of confidence now behind the camera in terms of the night sky, and I know what I'm at pretty much. But I also love doing portraits. I've done 3 or 4 portrait sessions in the last 2 weeks, I'm doing quite a bit.
So enjoying it.
And mad to do more of that kind of work.
Okay, so anyone looking to get their portrait done, you'll be the man.
Absolutely.
Do you have a studio yourself, or is it just
I just discovered last week that when it's pouring rain here, like it is often, I can turn my living room into a studio in about half an hour. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Good to know, and you don't have to go too far.
Yeah.
And just before we move on to the next of your many facets of your life, where can people go to see? Is it eddielee.ie?
EddieLee.ie
See
is
your
the...
photography and buy photography, and you're at the Strandhill Market as well. Is that right, or is there other places?
I'm at the Strandhill Market every Sunday. Yeah.
Okay, so people can get if they want, and like there is some beautiful shots altogether. And Sligo is what a lovely place to live for getting shots.
And if you buy one of my shots, you're supporting several businesses in Sligo, because I get all my stuff is framed in Sligo, and it's all printed in Sligo as well. So
Oh, okay, good. So keep
there's
it
two
low.
other businesses benefiting.
Good. So it's a triple whammy.
Yeah.
Everyone's winning. So what we were here tonight to chat about, of course, is the Sligo Jazz Festival. Again, like how many years running now?
The same year as No Crows formed, 2005,
2005.
was the first time we ran anything. We formed the Sligo Jazz Project in the autumn of that year, and we ran a little weekend as it's sort of a tester. And I started it off with Jim Meehan, who only passed away this year, a great guitarist and a mighty character, a great lover, music lover. Jim Meehan, Philippe Carbonell, who's my mate from No Crows, and Eddie McFarlane and myself were the four people who started it off. And we just kind of, it really was an educational thing that we wanted. We wanted to get people down here to teach us how to play jazz.
All right, okay.
And that was,
So you want to learn more yourself, so let's make it a festival.
It was quite a selfish thing initially, but then it became a lot less selfish, because once we got it up and running as a summer school and festival, there was no time for us to go to workshops really. So
Yeah. And it is a busy, I mean, from the days of Fifth and Teal, I know you had gigs there, and it's like
That's right.
people in and out.
Yeah.
I was always impressed by the man bringing in the piano.
Yes.
And his skill and talent on his own to
Incredible.
take a piano out of a van. Whatever I need the skill on the stage to see this man handling the piano and even tuning it. So there's two background things, and I was like, it's just so busy. It's running.
We'll have Kieran back up next week. He's not in the piano business anymore. He just tunes them now.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah, because COVID put him out of business, so he sold out. He sold all his stuff,
So
unfortunately.
An art in itself. You should let people see a video of that being done. It's amazing, amazing skill.
He's an absolute genius, yeah.
And then all those years, what would be your favourite memory? I mean, there's probably a few selfish ones where you just want to see this artist that you've always wanted to see, or maybe it's some young folk playing in a summer school.
I couldn't believe our luck, actually. Well, there's a few great moments. There's one great moment which is on video on our YouTube channel. Anybody can look at it. It's Ernie Watts, the great saxophone player who's played with everybody. I mean, one of the greatest saxophone players alive. There's Ernie Watts performing Green Onions with a bunch of our Youth Academy students, including Sam Purcell when he was 10 years old, Fraser Gain, both of whom will probably be heard next week at some point or other.
Two brilliant,
amazing musicians,
and good guys as well, good fun.
But this kind of, it's like closure for us, really. If you see something like that happening where there's one of the great jazz players on the planet can be that generous to people and to young people in particular, and help them and give them that inspiration. I mean, you can see what has happened with those guys. They're two of the best musicians in Ireland now.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So we've had other guys now come through. Nils Kavanagh,
he got an award.
He got the Young Jazz Musician of the Year award for the inaugural one for Limerick Jazz this year, and he's a junior tutor on our faculty this year.
And he's only like, what is he, 19, 20? See, not even.
He's
in around that anyway.
He's about 19. Yeah, he's studying in Cardiff in the college. He's studying jazz there in Cardiff. And so there's lots of great musicians that have come out the other end of Sligo Jazz Project now.
So that must make you very proud then to go, because we started this, has given them a vehicle to do it. And I mean, I know you've had some Grammy award-winning musicians. Again, maybe not
tons of them.
Not everyone might realise it, but then I remember again go back just because this is my closest memory of the Jazz Festival was the Fifth and Teal and the nighttime sessions.
Yes.
And I was just going, this is insane, because I know to some people jazz has this little niche, and some people are like, oh, I wouldn't go to jazz, but like there is certain parts of jazz that's a bit out there, but there's an awful lot of it is unbelievable. Some of the skill level of playing.
There's so many styles in jazz. Though, you know, I mean, there's Latin jazz, there's bebop, there's more old-fashioned swing jazz. You know, there's modern jazz, which can be like, there's a guy coming this year. I'd really recommend it. He does a kind of ambient jazz. Daniel Herskadal, he's from Norway. He's a tuba player, would you believe? Okay. And I'd say probably 100% of the audience will not have been to see a jazz tubist before, you know. So that's going to be on Wednesday in the Hawkswell. Daniel Herskadal from Norway and his trio. Okay. But it's very special music. It's very unique. Doesn't sound like anything else that I can put my finger on.
You've heard enough jazz, so if it's unique to you, it's going to be unique.
Yeah, it really
I mean,
is. Very atmospheric.
Yeah, okay. Well, it sounds like something unique. But again, that's it. People go and experience it and then make up your mind. Don't be like, I'm not sure that I'm into that. Like, because
that's it. We have lots of different styles. We have a Latin jazz group starting off. I mean, they're a really kick-ass group.
So that's like
Triple.
a lively kind of party as such. If you want to go
absolutely. And not only that, there are 3 of the top horn players in London, on the London scene, but also we've teamed them up with an Italian rhythm section of Federico Malaman and Ricky Quagliato, who are like
what day is that on?
2 of the most incredible musicians you'll ever hear. That's at the opening night on Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay. And in the Hawkswell, is it?
In the Hawkswell, yeah. It's a double bill actually with 2. Christine Tobin, who's a great Irish singer, who's recently just returned. Actually, she's living in County Roscommon again. Oh. She was on the New York scene and the London scene for a good number of years, and she's moved back with her partner now, Phil Robson, who's one of the top guitarists on the planet, jazz guitarists. Okay. So they're both playing on the opening night as well in that double bill.
Wow, so I think if people go to that for their taster, they'll probably be hooked for the week then.
Well, hopefully, yeah. But you can. I mean, the season tickets are a silly cheap price. Okay. €80 for all the gigs.
Every gig included. Okay.
Yeah, and well, having said that, a lot of the gigs are free. Like all the stuff in Anderson's is free. All the night.
Okay. So is there the nightly club then as well?
There's an evening and a nightly club.
Okay, so you're doubling up.
Yeah, I mean, what we try and do with Sligo Jazz is we have the summer school, which runs from 10 till 4 every day.
Yeah.
And then everyone bails into town. We have a Hargaden session at 4:30 every afternoon, and then everybody moves over to Anderson's for tea time for the jam session, which starts at 5:30.
So anyone can tip in there. You could see
anybody can go to Anderson's, and then that's really for our summer school people to start
jam together.
To jam together. So, but you can get tutors and students and participants playing together, and it's a great atmosphere. Yeah. The whole thing just builds up this empathy through the week, and it's just a big love fest by the weekend, you know.
Yeah. No, I can well believe, as I said, that some of the nighttime.
So we have two sets of jam sessions every day. So before and after the Hawkswell concert, the main concert, which are in the Hawkswell Theatre.
So like you're talking like 10, 11 or something in Anderson's each night, is it? Or
or
is it every night?
10 o'clock each night, 5:30 each evening, and then 10 o'clock each night.
And hold on, all free.
All
the Anderson's ones are all free. Okay,
all free. Again, there's only one thing that's a pay-in Anderson's is Tony Coffey. It's a double bill on Saturday afternoon, which starts at 1:30 and goes on till about 4.
Okay.
2 bands. Tony Coffey, who's a
worth
great English
saxophone.
Oh, totally. With an all-star band as well, and a great Irish band called Dirty Jazz Club.
The Dirty Jazz Club. I like the sound
Dirty
of that
Jazz Club. They're based in Dublin. They feature Cathal Roach, who's one of our faculty this year, and it's one of Cathal's projects.
And if you were to kind of say is there anything that maybe you could bring the kids along to, or family? Would you
kids
kind of
can
say
go
is
to
there
everything? The jam sessions especially, and I would say the best day for the kids is the Sunday afternoon, because we're starting early this year actually, because just flight times have changed, would you believe?
Course, yeah.
We're starting at 12:30 on Sunday.
In Anderson's?
So come and get your grub in Anderson's and hear all the participants who are in the summer school, 85 of them or 90 of them or something, performing for the
not at once, obviously,
3 hours or something.
Just in and out.
We have, I think, 12 ensembles.
Wow.
Which will be there for
Sunday.
your delectation.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of them will be our Youth Academy. There's 2 or 3 of those ensembles of Youth Academy for. Brilliant.
And you mentioned the jazz. Sorry, the jazz summer school you mentioned. Just to kind of, I mean, again, I always thought that this was like, oh no, it's only people who are into jazz, you know. But it could be any musician that goes, well, I wouldn't mind learning, but it's a proper open school.
We take them from all levels, like somebody who's never played a jazz note in their life.
Yeah.
We take them and we aspire to get really great musicians down as well to learn their.
So anyone, whether you're a drummer, guitar player, anything, or if you're just at home learning the saxophone, but you want to just.
Well, we have 29 tutors.
Wow.
On the summer school.
Never realised it was that big, and again, I didn't realise it was that open. You know what I mean? That anyone can join.
Well, I think it's grown to be the biggest and most inclusive jazz education event in Europe now.
Wow.
Well, we had 120 3 years ago. Numbers are a bit down this year, but I think numbers for everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah,
a little bit down this year.
Back, you know.
But we'll get them. We'll get them back. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's amazing. I mean, look. There's my sheet of questions. I never had so many sections to ask a guest before. Like, so a lovely. You're living a very how would I say, full of memories anyways, your life, and lots of different projects you get yourself stuck in. You're a busy man, and you don't seem like you enjoy sitting around doing nothing anyways, I'd say.
No, that's for sure. But one thing I'm looking forward to is when we get this over and we're done with it and we're all full of the joys of life, I'm going to get out there and take some photographs again.
And relax and rewind it. So Sligo Jazz, SligoJazz.ie, and it starts Tuesday till the Sunday.
Yes, 19th to the 24th.
24th. So again, I'm sure there's plenty of these around town, or look it up.
Yep.
You can download it online and all that, no doubt as well. Well, Eddie, thanks a million for coming in. The very best of the festival. There's a few of those gigs I'm already racking my brain going, I have to try and get into a couple of them. Like, I mean, I wouldn't pretend I'm a regular jazz attendee, but some of those gigs sound like they're amazing. So as I said, I hope to get in and see them. See a few myself, and anyone watching at home, go and check it out. Even if you think you're not into jazz, trust me, once you go to a few of these gigs, you might be a convert. So Eddie, listen, the best of luck with the festival, and thanks very much.
Thank you.
So that was Eddie Lee from Sligo Jazz. Thanks again for watching and joining us. Be sure to check out all our social media for lots of different clips and some of our older interviews if you haven't seen them all before. And we'll see you all again next time. So if you liked what you just seen, don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel here. We've loads of great interviews from a load of really interesting people over the series. And if you're on social media, which I'm sure loads of you are, we are on Instagram and Facebook, so give us a follow there.